I'm spinning. Hello! Welcome to episode 2 of my art improvement diaries. Thank you so much to everyone who watched the first episode of my series. And for those who don't know, hi, my name is Liz, which you probably could tell by looking at my channel name, but I have an... There's a helicopter passing by, give it a second. But on my page, I encourage my communities of bloomies to pursue their passions at any point in their life, no matter if you just entered adulthood, you're in your mid-20s, late 20s, 30s, 40s. I encourage everyone to pursue that dream passion, that dream hobby, that dream career that they've always wanted to pursue, because there's no point in their life that's too late. And so I'm doing that by leading by example. And I have this new series on my page called the Art Improvement Diaries, as I've always wanted to grow and pursue my artistic passions, artistic prowess. And so I created this series to document my progress on this page along with all my other videos in my late bloomer series. But you're probably wondering as you clicked on this video, Liz, what the heck happened in your next 30 days of your artistic journey? Not only did I fall sick for most of my second month, guys, you'll never believe this. I'm sick again for the third time this year. What I did during these 30 days feels very random when you put it next to the previous 30 days. And I think it's because I'm still finding my artistic flow and my artistic passion. In the first episode, I introduced this method called the calendar method or the planner method, which I did to force myself to draw. Well, within that, my philosophy has completely changed, and it's crazy how much it can change in such a short period of time, but I'm trying to document the real, raw, realistic part of the process, which is that I don't find one solution and just stick to it and then it's solved all my problems. This is very much a trial and error type of thing. I found that with forcing myself to draw, I treated drawing like it was a chore, which is not what I wanted to associate my art with. I wanted to associate it with passion, the want to draw, the desire to draw, and softly telling myself and encouraging myself to pick up a pen and open Procreate instead of TikTok and doom scroll. And so I do think that this project-based method, where I actually was doing stuff that I was passionate about and excited to make, definitely did some things. So starting off with the first project that I did in my 30 days was actually an art exchange that I did with a friend. This friend is from college and they are the absolute best. I saw this video of this bag that I really wanted, but I do not have the, I guess it's crochet knitting abilities to make. And so I asked them if they could make it for me and they instantly said yes. And I was like, in no universe would I allow you to make this for me with nothing in exchange. So I said I would surprise them with another gift in exchange, and thus it became an art exchange. I ended up asking their partner what are some things that they really enjoy. At first he said bones, and I was like, what am I supposed to make that's related to the TV show Bones? But they also said Stardew Valley, so I decided to make this very cute Stardew Valley inspired tote bag. What's really funny about this project is that it was not intended to be painted by hand. I really did enjoy the fact that I ended up picking up a paintbrush again, because painting is really my last piece of passion, or the last time I've felt passion when it's come to creating art. I feel like my painting era was the last time that I really felt inspired whenever I felt the need to draw, which you could tell by my lovely artistic pieces on my wall behind me, like my giant wave vinyl record that I painted years ago. So it was really nice to pick up a paintbrush again, and I do really think this is what symbolized that start and that spark for me to switch over to not forcing myself to draw, but finding the desire to draw and make art. This was originally going to be a t-shirt press tote bag. It did not work out very well, so I ended up going over the initial design with acrylic paint that I initially made in Procreate and used that as a reference for my final piece. I am so glad that I ended up painting it instead, and yes, the whole thing has been very much sealed with Mod Podge. Mod Podge or Mod Podge? Mod Podge? Mod Podge. Sealed with Mod Podge, ensuring that it is of the utmost quality. Now there was one more error with this bag that my friend that got the bag knows about. I think I'll share it when it's finally in its final form, and maybe that gives a hint of what went wrong, but I'm still so mad about it to this day. But regardless of the absolute F up that I made, I love the final result. They love the final result. She was absolutely in love with the bag, and I received this gem of a handmade bag in return. Are you kidding me? Literally an epitome of my chronically online nature. And to my fellow weird kids, which I did make a video about on this channel. Honestly, that video did better than I thought it would, and I kind of want to make more content about growing up weird and just being like an overall like weird person nowadays because of that. Shout out to y'all. But yeah, I love this bag so much, and she also understood the assignment as a fellow Archive of Our Own fanfiction reader, and so I'm super happy with this. Thank you so much, and shout out to my girl Julia for doing this for me. Now for the next part of my drawing journey. Also, sorry if you guys can hear my computer fan whirring in the background. That's probably really annoying. I hope you cannot hear that. For the next part of my artistic journey, peep my iPad that now has some lovely stickers on the back. Sorry, I keep getting distracted. What is happening? The next part of my artistic journey in these 30 days, I was stuck on something, and that was rendering. Now, you're probably wondering, Liz, you literally were taking art classes the first episode. Actually, I'm not sure if that was clear the first episode. Like little online lessons. It's not like an actual like, you know, like instructor-led course. I was just like watching videos and stuff, right? You're probably saying, Liz, if you just did your lessons, like, you know, you would actually understand rendering. And to which I say, no. I'm too lazy for that. I am so impatient and lazy, which is probably going to be the death of me in this process. And I'm probably going to look back on this in like 2 months and be like, girl, why did you just not do your lessons at the start? But we're gonna ignore that for now. I was thinking about rendering and how I can make the rendering process easy for me and enjoyable for me on this theme of finding the passion and inspiration and desire to draw versus the need to draw and create art. And so thinking back to a conversation that I had a long time ago with some fellow artists, and we were talking about the rendering process and how different artists do it. Now, if you're a beginner artist like me, aspiring artist like me, or maybe even intermediate, advanced artist, whatever, you probably know that one of the most asked questions to any artist who seems like a master in their field is, how the heck do you render XYZ? Whether it's clothing, skin, hair, eyes, whatever, everyone wants to know how to render. And for those who are unfamiliar, rendering refers to the finished, polished, final version of an artistic piece. I'm trying to find like art that's readily near me to like demonstrate this. Ooh. For example, I have this piece right here. Shout out to the TGCF fans out there. Remember when I was making TGCF content? What happened to that? I still want to make some. I'm getting so distracted. I'm so sorry. You see this final piece? Like absolutely beautiful, absolutely stunning. How did you get from just plain line art to this really polished, finished final piece? That is the question that every beginner artist wants to know about. And the answer is, it depends. It depends on the artist, it depends on the person, depends on the person who is making the piece. Everyone has their own rendering process. And that goes back to that conversation I had a while ago. We were talking about everyone's different rendering processes, and they are all so different. Some people, they all draw on one layer, almost like it's one giant oil painting. Some people have a million different layers. Some people use the heck out of blending modes. Some people have a very like sketchy line art approach. They use all the same brush, no blending modes, nothing. And everyone has a very different process, which creates a very different finished result for each person, which in the end creates everyone's own unique, beautiful style. And so I was thinking about for myself, how could I render in a way that makes sense for me, but also is similar to what some artists are already doing, so I could take inspiration from some people. And I don't know where I remember this from, but I remember watching an artistic tutorial with someone in the past, and they were doing everything in Greyscale. And I thought about this really old piece that I did a long time ago for a class. It's not very good, so just a trigger warning. You are not about to be impressed in any way, shape, or form. And it looks like this. Basically, it is a shaped, rendered version in Greyscale of this reference piece that I made years ago. And I thought back to this piece and a lot of the exercises that we were doing in this class that I did not engage in. I could talk about my class in the future, by the way. I was not engaged in that class in a way I should have been, and I was not ready to learn how to actually like create art when that class was happening. Oh gosh, I have big regrets about that, but whatever. I was thinking back to that class and my grayscale drawing, and I thought to myself, what if I draw using the grayscale method? The grayscale method refers to making a piece completely rendered in grayscale and then adding color later. The reason why I was drawn to this is because I'm very bad at assigning colors ahead of time. And color picking is something I've always struggled with. Color harmony is something I've always struggled with. And making two colors, let's say a skin tone and a like clothing tone and hair, and assigning all those things to be in harmony with each other is something that I've always found difficulty with. I'd say a really good example of this is another old piece that I have. Well, definitely not the worst piece in the world. You can see how the lighter colors don't really blend well with the darker colors. It feels like they should belong to two completely different pieces. And so I wanted to try out this method, and I searched many high and low of tutorials online on how to actually do the grayscale method, and this is what I ended up landing on. So this is the first piece that I ended up creating using this new grayscale method. Now this piece, you can tell even when comparing it to the last piece that I just showed, is so much more detailed, and you can see it has much better color harmony compared to any of the other pieces I've made before. Especially compared to this piece that I did a couple of months ago. You can see here when I started rendering in the grayscale, and I basically, again, this was a test drawing, added the shadows, added the highlights, everything in grayscale prior to adding the color. Now with the tutorials that I found, they use different blending modes to then add on the colored layers on top. And that's basically what I did for this sample drawing. This is the final piece I ended up making using the grayscale method. This is my first finished piece within this whole art improvement process. And this is also one of the first pieces that I have created in a long time that I can actually say I am very proud of myself for making. So proud of myself that I actually made prints of this piece. Look how in-depth it is compared to the pieces that I was making before. And the layers, the dimension, everything just fits so well together. And it's all because I found my preferred method using the grayscale method. Now, this is the original print before I ended up doing some type work on top of it. And breaking it down, you can see where it started, doing a basic bit of line art. I definitely did the long way around for this entire thing, mainly because I was very enthusiastic to just see the piece rendered. So you can see me put all the details in here and then like immediately start to go adding color before I finish the entire piece. All the pieces that I'm doing in the future, I'm definitely not doing it this way. It took way too long. The layering was a nightmare and it was horrible. I also messed up rendering the hair, but again, because it was in grayscale, it was so easy to fix. It was so easy to fix. I was able to go back on top of everything and do it again and create something that I was actually happy with. So you see how I'm just adding the color on top of the grayscale that I'm already doing? It was just so, I'm telling you, y'all, if you're struggling with rendering, I highly recommend doing this style. Now you might be noticing that her skin looks very, very dull right now, versus in my final piece, it does not look that way. That's because I do a lot of blending modes on top. So many blending modes, in fact, that it ends up looking like this very, very bright version of the drawing compared to this more dull, like literally like Twilight Vampire looking version of the drawing. Twilight Vampire versus final piece, so much better. And I could go more into blending modes and the ones that I was using later in another video if you want me to. This whole piece was so fun to make. I'm so happy with myself. I'm so proud of myself. And like I was saying before, this is one of the first times in a long time that I've been genuinely proud of what I actually created. Do you want to know the total canvas time of this piece? Do you want to know the total canvas time of this piece? And it's because of all these small little stamps on the side. Each of those I had to render individually. Like those are their own individual paintings. This is why I have the total canvas time it does. It doesn't seem like it took this long, but it took me 10 hours. I can't say it. 10 hours and 6 minutes. 10 hours and 6 minutes. But this whole process taught me that practice makes perfect. Patience and just absolute care and attention being dedicated to a piece will go so far. And again, I'm so proud of the final piece I made. I also made this really quick sketch or image for the back of my business cards. You may be wondering, business cards, Liz, why are you making a business card? You'll learn in the next episode why I'm making business cards. But I'm so happy and so like satisfied with this piece, which is huge for me. And it has lit a creative outlet within me that I had lost by being satisfied again with something that I made and being genuinely happy with something that I made. So yeah. Oh my God, my nose is killing me. Hey, also make sure you're staying hydrated. Just make sure you're staying hydrated. Today we just have plain water in my cow cup, of course. Have you drank water today? And if you have not, why haven't you? Go drink water. Go drink water.